The first thing I will add to the Power Apps flow is an HTTP connector, which will receive secure communication from DeskConnect. I will then print an invoice to the desktop automation driver to begin a Microsoft Power Apps DeskConnect workflow. I will configure the document identifier and output file type. I will use the invoice number from the document as the file name. I need to introduce both the company name and invoice number as extra information to pass to my Power Apps workflow. I will use a modifier to remove the text invoice number from the value going back to the Power Apps flow. I will add a new step and choose the Initialize Variable option. I will set the variable type as an object and give the variable a name. Now that my flow has two steps in it, I can hit Save. This will generate an HTTP post URL that can be pasted into the destination URL field from my DeskConnect workflow. I will now hit Test Output to generate a JSON structure containing all the information that will get passed to the Power Apps flow. I will copy this JSON and paste it into the HTTP Action Sample Payload menu. This will generate an appropriate JSON schema that can now be used throughout the apps flow. I can now easily populate my variables using the JSON list. I will do this now for the attachment variable. Note that I'm also using the base 64 to binary expression. I will now create a file name variable. I will use both the file name as well as the attachment extension from the JSON list to ensure that each file attachment is configured with the correct file type. Note that the attachment extension data is included in every submission from DeskConnect and that the variable type is set to string. I will also create variables for the company name as well as the invoice number. Now I will add a connector for Outlook. I can add my predefined variables directly into the text. Variables can also always be manually called using the variables function. Note that if there are any variables missing from the dynamic content list, you can simply type a question mark in the expression pane, then click back into dynamic content. You can see that with this easy trick, my attachment variable reappeared in the dynamic content list. Now that the Power Apps flow is configured, I can test the workflow. Great. It looks like everything worked as expected. And here is the email and the attachment. All the variable information has been acquired correctly. Looking at the raw data, we can see our information being passed from DeskConnect within the body section of the HTTP request outputs. The last thing we should add is an HTTP response to control the message back to the user. Now let's do a full test to see the status message. And you can see the HTTP response sent the correct message back to the user.